Peace, world. We are back with another episode of the Think Music Podcast. I am the Word, and then my co-host here is
Yeah, Dunlap. Sorry about that.
um,
Not already. I ain't even on no coffee.
um, all right, showing that we're live. So tonight's episode is Music and the Messiah. Music and the Messiah, and we're gonna talk about a few things, and given the time, we ain't gonna tarry long with you. Before we get into the meat, we're just gonna go and get into it.
Yeah.
1983. This book right here. I got this book a while back. It's called The Power Trio, and the book is focuses on Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Okay.
Right.
But excuse me, the thing that I want to highlight out of here is I got to the back of it, was looking, and it's something interesting that I have never come across. And in the back of the book, you can see this. Let me see if I can focus it in. Damn, it's hard to make this thing come into the. Which way I gotta move it?
That's pretty. It's.
Okay. You notice.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
You notice it says Age of Aquarius.
Yeah.
There we go. 1983. And I'm thinking, that's interesting. 1983. Now, I've never really heard any reference to the Aquarian age started in 1983. But we do know that the 80s was a wild era. And for our generation, is near and dear to our hearts because that's the era that we grew up in.
Yes.
So to get this conversation started, we want to take a look at some of the music and or just different forms of art that are noteworthy in the 80s.
Yes. Starting off with the king of pop, Michael Joseph Jackson. He drops Thriller November 30th, 1982. Now, I read up on this album some time ago, and I want to say the album spawned what? Maybe three. Well, Thriller, Beat It, Billie Jean. What else? I gotta see what else was on the album because I know those were the three singles on it. Okay, so it spawned The Girl Is Mine, Billie Jean, Beat It, Want to Be Starting Something, Human Nature, PYT, and Thriller. Those were the singles. And the album only had, I think it was only 9 joints on it. So the only thing that wasn't the single was Lady in My Life. And what was the song Eddie Murphy made fun of him on Delirious? That Real Slow song, I think was the only 2 songs that weren't singles. She's Out of My Life. I think that was it. I think that was on that album. So you get the king of pop. Now, Michael, if you followed the Jacksons or his career, you know he had a couple solo albums in the 70s, and he hit um, with Off the Wall in 79. And then he wanted to work with, they went back in the studio. He's touring. And then they go in the studio and start working on um, Thriller. At the same time, so that takes us into 83. 84, Prince drops Purple Rain. That he drops the movie and the soundtrack to the movie, which takes off. Prince's first album was in the late 70s also. I think his first album was either 79 or 78. Um and I think Purple Rain may have been his third project. His first project didn't really do anything, even though he did mostly all the production on it. Because Prince, he could play every instrument and all that type stuff. So he was like a ill musician. You also had the comeback of Marvin Gaye, right? Marvin Gaye had took some time away from music, really wasn't feeling the music anymore, and somehow he gets talked into doing. And I'm going off the top of the head, so mind me if I'm forgetting some things, but he winds up coming to the 1984 NBA All-Star Game, sings the national anthem, sings it in a rendition that probably has never been heard up to that point, because everybody sings it a little more traditionally. And that spawns a record company wanting to do some music with him. I want to say it was an overseas record company. And I'm rehashing this from listening to Questlove. But he does the album Sexual Healing, which only, according to others, the only real hit on there was the actual single Sexual Healing. But it brought him back to the limelight after he had took some time off. And I want to say a few months after that's when this pop shot him. I want to say he died in 84, maybe 84, 85. You also had Stevie Wonder come back. He did We Are the World. He was a part of that. But he also came back with producing the soundtrack for this movie called Woman in Red, and he dropped in the Squared Circle album, which had the hit Overjoyed on it, and they might have had another banger on there. And Hotter Than the 4th of July came out in the 80s. So these are guys, these guys had careers in the 60s, 70s, took some time off, came back. And then also a jazz great, even though he came back in the late 80s, Miles Davis took about 5-6 years off from doing music and was going through his thing. Then he tapped back in to hip hop, because remember he had the song Doo-Wop Style with Rhyming is Fundamental with the producer Easy Mo B was a producer in that group. And so you had all these guys that had great careers. Miles starting in the 50s, Marvin in the 50s, Michael late 50s going into the 60s, Prince 70s. But 83, we see this explosion of music, and then that's not even counting the new wave that came in, Aha, Depeche Mode, Kraftwerk, a lot of new wave bands came out too. So you had and then Basquiat was popping in the 80s around this time. You still had, and this is in the art world, you still had Andy Warhol. He was known by then. It was another guy, I can't think of this dude's name. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think of his name. And then you had fashion making a comeback. Ralph Lauren was getting a good run in the 80s, just really starting to build his name. Tommy Hilfiger started in the 80s. Some of the old fashioned houses were coming back, like Fendi and Gucci. So in this time we had an explosion. And then, as me and Jamal was talking about offline, we had the ultimate explosion, crack cocaine.
Mm, mm. Crack cocaine. Hmm. I want to share a book. I got it from a guy on Subject's channel. Uh, I can't pronounce his name. A team of Roddy, something like that. Pardon me, but it's just a unique your name. He calls himself two names. One is Vamir Adis.
Okay.
Uh, Mateen Maradi is the other name, I think. But either way, he is he's a voracious reader, and he shares books from time to time. So he put viewers up to this. The book is
Ooh,
called Generations: The History of America's Future, 1584 to 2069. It's a
wow.
must have, and I would I say that that book needs to
Peace, Brian.
also
Mm-hmm.
peace, Brienne. It also needs to be purchased in tandem with this Cosmos and Psyche.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm about to show why. This book historical. This is historical as well, but from the standpoint of astrological cycles. And what
Okay.
we're gonna do real quick is we're gonna go down the rabbit hole just a little bit
All right.
based on the foundation we just got laid down. Obviously, there was some type of energy, okay, in
Right.
the 80s. And what I'm suggesting here is that this energy is based off of um, a Uranus Pluto conjunction from 1960 to 1972. Now, what we got to do is we got to look at to get an idea of what the significance is we got to look at the archetypes. Okay,
All right.
so Uranus is could be archetypically associated with Prometheus, and Prometheus is rebellion. Okay, freedom. Um, Pluto we could associate with Dionysus,
Mm.
and so Dionysus is deep rooted longing. It's power. It is it is euphoria through pain. The one of the greatest Dionysian movies is Hellraisers. You know, the guy was looking for the ultimate sensation. You know,
Mm.
and it was through just what those four characters would come to torture him, and they ripped his body apart. So he was Dionysus.
Was that the dude that
Dionysus.
was hanging and said Jesus wept?
Yeah, the main character who was the ladies' man. You know,
Yeah, I think I remember that.
um,
I was a little scared of Hellraiser back then. I can't front.
hell yeah.
Yo,
Back
Hellraiser
when it
Pinhead
first
was a
came
bugger.
out.
Right.
Um, so
And
Dionysus is
real quick, not to cut your wisdom. Wasn't there a cube in that movie too? That
yeah,
they okay.
yeah. That was what he met the old man, and he got the cube, and that's what when that cube was opened, that's what released. That was the Hellraiser. You know.
Now, not and I'm sorry, but my mind running a little bit. Can we juxtapose this with the Energon cube from Transformers?
Yeah, it's the
It's the
same
same thing, right?
symbol, you know, because the cube is the cross.
Okay.
When the cross is folded up, it's the cube.
Got yep. See
Okay,
that.
so it's the same basic symbology.
Okay.
Um, so Dionysus is death, burial, resurrection. Okay, that's also associated with. So when we talk about Pluto and Uranus coming together, we're talking about hidden things being pulled up out of the underworld. Okay, we're talking about uh, uh, unstoppable power. We're talking about transformation combined with a rebellious energy of freedom. So let's just if we just think about that energy, okay, and that it's from 60 to 72, and we go back and look at the 60s,
Yep.
okay, on all planes, from the counterculture to the civil rights. But what I want to do is before I get off track, I want to real quick go back to compare two generations. The generation that would be the progenitors of hip hop
Mm.
and who would come of age in the 80s, 83, 82, 84. Those people were born either
Yes.
during the Uranus Pluto conjunction of
Yes.
60 to 72 or right before. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Kool Herc, 1955. Africa Bambaataa, 1957. Grandmaster Flash, 1958. Curtis Blow, 1959. Michael Jackson was born in 1959. I
Mm-hmm.
think Prince was maybe born in 57. If I think he's a little older than Michael Jackson. Melly Mel, 1961. So these key figures were born either right before the Pluto, the Uranus Pluto conjunction, or during the time that it was still in this orb. In the orb we're
Mm-hmm.
talking like 15 degrees.
Right.
Now, that generation, according to this book, okay, they call us Generation X. Uh, Generation X is supposed to start around 61 and go up to like 81. Well, this book calls it the 13th generation. And what's interesting is the verbs they use is uh, they refer to us as uh, reactive.
Mm.
Okay, now here's what's key in 188 the generation from 1883 to 1900. Okay,
All right.
this generation would be called the lost generation. Okay, and they are also described as reactive. Now, what does it have to do with this generation that would give birth to hip hop? From 18, there was a Uranus Pluto opposition. And um, hold on, let me find. I got it marked here. There was a Uranus Pluto opposition from 1896 to 1907. Okay.
Okay.
Now, the opposition, the conjunction, the square would all be very dynamic times. So that's why I'm juxtaposing those two. Conjunction of Uranus and Pluto, 60 to 72. Opposition of Uranus and Pluto, 1896 to 1907. Now, here's the kicker. This generation from 1896 to 1907 would give us Thomas A. Dorsey, okay, who would be the father of gospel, okay.
All
It would
right.
give us the birth of, it would be give us the group that will go on to give us something called toasting. Now I pulled some articles. I ain't gonna read out, but I want to read what I got highlighted here. The African American toast tradition. You can find this online. As evidenced in print and music, African Americans boast a lively verbal art tradition that includes tales, toasts, and adventures of bad boys who confront and vanquish any adversary instantly and guiltlessly. From Reconstruction to the Jazz Age through today, this boasting tradition has been a uniquely urban phenomenon. Toasts are performed narratives of often urban but always heroic events. For many blacks, both performers and the audience, hearing about or performing the winning ways of the central character becomes as creative a release as black music. Toasting is today's continuance of an oral tradition, but many contemporary toasters read their complicated and elaborate versions from a text. As with an oral tradition, many versions of the same toast exist. The toast is a dynamic performance within the black community of recognizable and popular central characters. Okay, let me scoot down. A toast well known in any large American city with a significant black population is Shine and the Titanic. This toast relates the heroic efforts of an old black stoker to warn of the ship's impending disaster, but when ignored, he strives to save himself. The Titanic, just that right there is some heavy shit. Um, a lot of metaphoric weight to that. The Titanic sank on its maiden voyage in 1912. Okay, hold tight with me. I'm gonna move over to something else real quick
All right.
because we're talking about the same generation here. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
this generation produced Thomas A. Dorsey, who started out as a blues artist and who then converted over and found his spiritual light, I guess, and he and led him to take the same composure, music composed the same way, change the lyrics, and now becomes gospel music. Now, this out of this same generation, we get the birth of jazz. Among uh, among many African Americans, there was desire to move away from musical forms such as spirituals, which were identified with slavery days, and yet they also wanted musical styles of their own. A new sound arose in street and community music. Where did we say hip hop came out of?
Street.
A new sound arose in street and community music of African Americans in the late 19th century. Late
Mm-hmm.
19th century. This is when Uranus and Pluto are opposing each other. All right. And so it goes on. This article says Ferdinand Joseph Lamotte, also spelled Lamoth, was born to a Creole family in New Orleans in about 1890. Um, in New Orleans, Creole refers to French speaking African Americans. He shared talent for performing music as a child and became a professional piano player at 14 and came to be known as Jelly Roll Morton.
Ooh.
Morton, you heard of him?
Yeah.
Okay, so
The music.
Morton began his career playing ragtime. What came to be called jazz or jazz emerged from ragtime and other musical influences such as blues, often with additional instruments such as brass. Morton liked to introduce himself by saying he invented jazz. While some have doubted this, his claim is the earliest. He published Jelly Roll Blues in 1915, and this is thought to be the earliest example of jazz sheet music. Now, what we have here is three forms of music that are birthed out of a Uranus Pluto alignment that happens to be this one is in opposition. We have we have three art forms. We have the toast, we have gospel music, and we have jazz. Now, what I want to lay out here for consideration is, let me say, give this quote first. Very familiar. Millionaires don't study astrology, billionaires do. That's a real quote from J.P. Morgan by way of Evangeline Adams, who was his astrologer, and she's a descendant of John Quincy Adams.
Mm.
So I submit that people studied what came out of the Uranus Pluto alignment
Mhm.
at the end of the 19th century. And this generation was their version of Generation X, wayward youth, vagabonds, shuffling their feet. We don't know what's going to come of this generation.
Right.
That was that generation who produced all of this. So, with people with resources and time and money, endless money, would they not be studying these outcomes? And then when we know that the next Uranus Pluto cycle would come, we would have a whole game plan in place.
Mhm. Nice. Nice. Now, real quick, when you were Thomas Dorsey and those fellas, what year was they born? When you
Thomas
was born?
Dorsey was born in 1899, I think.
Oh, okay, okay. So those names you named in the beginning, they were all born around the same time, right?
Right.
Late 1800s. Okay, okay. Because I was looking up. I pulled up Charlie Parker while you was talking because I didn't know when he was born. It says he was born August 29th, 1920. And he's probably like the one of the first jazz greats that uh saxophonists base their style. You kind of like him, Coltrane,
Mm-hmm.
um Sonny Rollins.
Mm-hmm.
It's a couple other cats too, before Coltrane and all of that, but Bird was the first one. But I wanted to see that he lined up in that also, but
Yeah, he
he's
would be
he's that next phase.
he would be influenced by that generation.
Yep, by Jelly Roll and all of them. Right.
Um, so then the other thing the rabbit hole took me on was, okay, this generation is referred to as the lost generation. Now, this book here is called Quiet. Okay. Now, and it has something very interesting because what I try to do is in my mind, I try to line these things up side by side just to try to put us trying to get a story here.
Mm.
Okay, so let me just read this real quick. This is real brief. In the This is about Andrew uh, Carnegie. Carnegie's, or some people pronounce it Carnegie.
Yep.
Carnegie's metamorphosis from farm boy to salesman to public speaking. Let me just skip down some of this shit. Um, well, I'm gonna lose. So let me just read it. Farm boy to salesman, the public speaking icon is also the story of the rise of the extrovert ideal. I want to. We got to really hone in on this. Carnegie's metamorphosis from farm boy to salesman to public speaking icon is also the story of the rise of the extrovert ideal. That's the internet, what we see on the internet right now. This kind of points towards the birth of it. Extrovert ideal. You know what I'm saying? Is it,
Hmm.
you got to be an entertainer now.
Yeah.
You know? Okay. Carnegie's journey reflected a cultural evolution that reached a tipping point around the turn of the 20th, again, the turn of the 20th century. We're at the same time frame here, changing forever who we are and whom we admire, how we act at job interviews and what we look for in an employee, how we court our mates and raise our children. America has shifted from the influential cultural historian Warren Sussman had shifted from what the influential cultural historian Warren Sussman called a culture of character to a culture of personality, and opened up Pandora's box of personal anxieties from which we would never quite recover.
We could put the mask on.
We could put the mask on. The mask became the importance,
Yes.
not
It's the
who's
same
behind
reason.
them.
Yep, my bad. It's the same reason why today, if you work for a company, you say something out of pocket on social media, you get fired because it's not really about. It's more about your. That seemed like that was an influx of creating. We can't let man mess up our economy.
Hmm.
So yeah, now there was a time where you could say some things and do some things in the office, but now we at a point where you do one thing, you're done because they don't want you to mess the business up.
Hmm. Because it's been 100 and something years in the making.
Yes.
This we didn't we didn't arrive here by happenstance.
No.
This has been a guided a guided scripted ride that we on
Hmm.
from what it appears to me. You know, it says the word personality didn't exist in English until the 18th century, and the idea of having a good personality was not widespread until the 20th. So, wow.
This is when your Hollywood movies starts taking off. You know, a screenwriter is a person that can push a narrative in the movie to because I was thinking about this the other day with like cartoons. Um and I want to say
It's an accolade.
maybe and I want to say in the 80s the 90s I heard someone say and it really hit me. It was like, cartoons for kids, the color and the action was for the children, but the dialogue was for the adults because the kids didn't really know what the characters were talking about like that. So it was like if you're watching, so what it was they'll talk to the adults through the dialogue if you're watching cartoons with your children. But then at the same time, we know that in the I want to say, what was that, the 50s when communism and all of that was popping, and
Mm-hmm.
and they was adding things in the movies and newsreels in the movies and
Mm-hmm.
curving your thought process of they're gonna come over here and do these certain things to us and and scare you, and then through the newspaper tell you we have to go to war for whatever reason, and then because we didn't build you up in the movie theater by showing you these newsreels of what could possibly happen, then we run it through the newspaper. You're all for us going to attack someone or hop in a war or what have you
Mm-hmm.
because you've been programmed into it. They found out about programming. I mean, obviously, programming has been around for a long time. We know, at least recently, the Romans probably had that down pat. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we all know about the bread and circus and the Roman Colosseum. Give them bread and give them bread and circus, and we can do one on the side, and that's still going on even to right now today. But yeah, whatever was going on in the stars or in the heavens, they tapped into it and begin to bring things forth that the regular man didn't know about. And it's funny you said about the billionaire studying astrology. I was listening to a financial um interview, And in between cleaning, I stopped and looked at the video. And behind the guy, this billionaire investment fund, hedge fund manager, he had a Buddha on top of his bookcase,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And it just, with you saying that, it just made me think about that. You know what I mean? He was a European man, but he had this Buddha on top of his
Mm-hmm.
bookcase. And when you go into the hibachi joints and go eat or whatever, and even some Chinese restaurants, they got that Buddha right up front by that cash register. And
With
I
some
know,
water.
yep, and water running.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, so I think you're right. When you got the information or somebody turn you onto the algorithm, you go tap in, and then you play the game of what that game is. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like how they used to do in the old ancient times of, if you come seeking like you want to know something, well, come on over here, and you look like you want to know, and then you go into your studies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's. I think with the one of the main reasons for studying astrology is to be able to forecast cycles,
Right.
or to forecast when a cycle, well, how a cycle will unfold. You know, um, you don't know exactly, but you can study how the energy has played out previously.
Hmm.
So before the opposition, there was another alignment in around 1845, I think. And we know from, I think it was 1845 to 61, maybe. And we know around this time, what do we have? Civil War.
Yep.
Um, so I'm thinking that what may have happened was, by knowing the cycle is coming, that a lot of things were created to counteract the natural unfolding of the energy. You think about, even our economy is set up to keep people busy.
Yes.
Um, and when we look at the history of education,
Hmm.
um, in the late 1700s, early 1800s, you would have what they would call a dame, and a dame would be a woman in a particular neighborhood, or little community,
Okay.
who would she would be designated to care for the children throughout the day, and teach them basic arithmetic and reading skills. Now, this was just the result of the industrial era. Before the industrial era, the men typically went out and worked, and the women reared the children. They taught them, you know, all of the education that the woman took care of. Typically,
Yep.
industrial era came and forced both the man and the woman to work. So then
Right.
they had to nominate a school dame or a dame. Then they came and started coming with, they kept tinkering and tinkering. What I'm getting at here is, by changing up money and changing up currency, changing up an economic system, they made people busier.
Yes.
And so the astrology, if you look at it, from the most part, from late 1800s up, even up to now, it still is a very minute portion of the population even gonna give a damn, because for the most part you're trying to scramble to make ends meet.
It's funny you said that, bro, because my bad. Was you still rolling?
No, you go, you can chime.
Me and Brianna, this was, oh, man, this had to be like maybe 2014, 15 or something. We were talking about this because we were talking like, yeah, we don't have like, not that we personally didn't have time, but just like in general. And so we started doing it. We doing the like lining it up. It's like, okay, start in the morning. You wake up, you get your kids ready, you make breakfast, you go to work for 8 hours. Your kids go to school for 7 or something hours, right? You come home, you get home, say you work 8 to 4, 8 to 5. You get home, you help your children with their schoolwork. Depending, this is let's just say, you know, elementary age, maybe junior high. Kids come in, do work. Husband and wife come in, cook dinner. While work's being done, because now we're juggling now. So while you start your homework, if you need help, I'll come in. We start cooking dinner. About an hour for dinner. Another hour you eat. You got maybe 2 hours family time now. So it's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. You eat an 8. It used to be from 7 to 9 was my time. Like 7 to 9 was I can watch TV. Schoolwork's done. We didn't eat, whatever. 9 o'clock, I had to go to sleep. From 9 to about 11, 12 was your parents' private time. They relaxed time. And then depending on how your job, you got to go to work. So in that time frame, where did you have any time for studying? Like where did you have any time for any type of understanding? Both people working, kids in school. Now, mind you, here comes the other play. Now we got sports, right? And they know kids are impressionable. So now my son want to play basketball. My son want to play soccer. My son want to be on the swim team. So now it goes from, and then now your kids is juggling, right? They learning how to juggle because now they got to do homework, go to practice. You know what I'm saying? Come home, get a shower, eat, work on some work. Might once you get in junior high and high school, you might have a test to study for, might have a book report or whatever. So you have no wiggle room for nothing. You know what I'm saying? Now, yeah, of course we know you can find time for stuff, right? But just looking at that as a setup, and then as far as studying and seeing what's going on outside your world, you have nothing. You have no time. You know what I mean? You have no time. You
and
know.
the, and that's the great conspiracy. The great
Mm-hmm.
conspiracy is this: to extract life from living. The, it, the great
Ooh.
conspiracy is for people to not live.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's the goal is to take fire out. Because living is about fire. It's fire. And it's
Yes.
to extract the fire out of it and to to make us into corpses, walking
Mm-hmm.
corpses, and um, it's not a new plan.
Mm-mm.
Let's see,
It's just updated.
it's just updated. It's
Yeah.
just updated. Um,
And I was going to talk about that Roaring Twenties, Brianna, um, because I wanted to see where that lined up in your timeline, Jamal. Because them Roaring Twenties was right around that industrial age, also, right?
hmm
All the buildings going up in New York and Chicago, everyone doing these, all this building going on, these skyscrapers going up. I want to say that was in the early 20s.
hmm Well, the twenties, the twenties are very interesting. The twenties, we could say, are like the '80s
Mm-hmm.
because we had the '80s with the bull market and boom or bust '80s and uh,
Yep.
going back to the movies, all the Wall Street movies and
Yeah,
so
Gordon
forth.
Gecko. Greed is good
Yeah,
to 87.
there we go. You
And then
know,
that market crash to reset everything.
there we go. There we go. And so, um, and we also see when we talk about the introduction of crack, when we talk about
Mhm.
the roaring 20s, well, their version of crack was alcohol.
Right. Yep.
because from 20 to 33 you had prohibition.
Wow,
Okay,
was it that long?
yeah, from 20 to
Wow.
33. And a few days after they legalized alcohol, the legalization of alcohol and FDR's announcement of his so-called New Deal
Mm-hmm.
were within like a couple of weeks of each other. They both were in March of 33. Okay,
And I want to say, don't we get the Federal Reserve in
that's when
33?
that's when U dot S dot was bankrupt. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and so that's when we have it's not too long before too long after they had come up with the whole tax scam. You know,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
now it's interesting now that if we juxtapose the drug use from the 80s moving forward with the alcohol, and then all of a sudden alcohol is okay. Now it's funny, all of a sudden weed is okay.
Yep.
So we start seeing the same cycles, like you say, they get updated. It's like a software update, you know. Uh, oh, yeah, Brianna said fentanyl or vax stuff. Yes, and
Yep.
okay, let's talk about the vax. Rudolph Steiner. Let's talk about. There's nothing new under the sun. Where is this? Did I erase this? Oh man. Where's the thing from? Basically, there's a lecture from 1917 with Rudolf Steiner talking about that in the future there would be a vaccine that its purpose would be to separate the soul from the human. 1917. So if you just think about generations of our families who've worked and worked, just one generation back, my family is just all domestics.
Mm-hmm.
My mother and father were the first so-called career people. They come from domestics on both sides, going cleaning up, people's homes and taking care of their children and sliding down the hill and about to break their hip when the snow because they're trying to get to the bus stop to catch a bus to go to the other side of town to go clean somebody's house. And
Right.
so, this conversation is monumental of sorts because we're trying to catch up, man. You know what I'm saying? We got folks. I get a little pissed sometimes to listen to these astrologers online. It's like, yes, I left and I went to London and I went to Canada to study with the such and such astrological foundation and then they talk about what these different archetypes mean and this means that it's just time for us to all come together and heal the wounds and but I'm like, man, you don't get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? You don't if you can't talk to me about what no suffering dealing with, I don't want to hear shit about explaining to me about loving and healing and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know what privilege does? It allows you to sit around and drink tea and find yourself for fucking 30 years.
Yep.
And so and we're talking about across racial lines, because we're talking about most motherfuckers ain't got shit. And you know what I'm saying? Don't really come from shit, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. You gotta
And
want this.
yeah, yeah. You gotta really fight to find the time to learn something in this world.
Yep.
Because the whole thing is set up for you to just
Be a worker bee.
fucking work a bee, man.
Yep. And I think that's the beauty in getting into the arts and tapping into that and understanding you are, I don't even want to put this out there yet because I want to use it for, I want to copyright it before I say it, but I'm just going to say it. We're bespoke material.
Mm,
And we come from a creator, and that's what we're supposed to do: create, add on, build, you know. And like you say,
That's heavy.
the matrix has us in worker bee mode. We can't even, you always tell me the ideas you have. I have ideas. And it's like, I was telling my wife, I'm like, yo, I started putting pressure on myself thinking about time. Because I'm like, I'm about to be 46 years old. I got maybe another 40. If I start getting healthy, I might have another 30 where I can be active in my art. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not trying to be anybody made. I just want to be able to do my art.
Right.
But what I found with doing all of this praying and meditating and reading and removing yourself from the world, and then and I know we have to work, but then when you're not chasing material, bro, like when you're being creative, it feels so great. You know
That's
what I
right.
mean? Like
That's
when I'm
right.
sitting back making beats, like I get a dopamine rush. When
Yeah.
we put material out, I get a dopamine rush. When you hit me like, yo, I got 8 bars already. Like, yo, I just sent you that joint 15 minutes ago. You tapping back in that quick. I'm like, yo, it gives me a rush because it's like it felt like we're doing what we're innately supposed to do. Now, like I said, I know we have to take care of ourselves, but that's to an extent. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't have to buy in, because all that buying in is really just keeping the economy churning.
Hmm.
You know, 1,000 restaurants to go to, 1,000 pairs of sneakers. I'm looking at Nike. I'm like, yo, Nike, how many Air Force? I mean, how many Air Jordan colorways y'all gonna come out with in a
You
year,
can't get
bro?
on, and you can't get on top of it.
You know what I'm saying? I'm looking like, yo, y'all listen. Every month, every 2 months, y'all got a new colorway dropping. Like we're over. We're um we're we're over. I can't even think. It's a word I want to use. I can't find it, but we're oversaturated with material to where and it's because and we talked about this before. In my opinion, it's because we have capitalism.
Hmm.
So it's push, push, push. 30 Starbucks, 30 fat McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? Then you start thinking about, damn, like how they got all these burger joints, and like how are they producing that much ground beef for every burger joint
Oh
that have
man.
ground beef? Like these are things that just start popping in your head when you remove it. When you get off the hamster wheel,
Hmm.
and then you really start looking at our society. Yo, once you pull yourself back and say, okay, oh, yeah, do I like a couple material things? Of course, we need
Yeah.
material. We have to put things on. But yo, I'm not chasing, you know what I'm saying, a bunch of different items, man. Like what I'm chasing is how can I get be more artistic?
Yeah. How can I live?
How can I live?
It is. There's a great. I meant to send you um, this passage in the Gnostic text. Um, it's just about engendering versus creation. Um, but yeah, that we'll say that for another show. We'll go in on that one. But you know,
Brianna says it's because you're using your knowledge, divinity, skills, and body to manifest. We aren't allowed to flow and flourish when we have to go, go, go without a plan or an end. That's why
right?
creating is so loved by ourselves.
Hmm.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, it's something tying back to the title of this podcast or this
Hmm.
episode. There is a messianic connection with the muse between
Hmm.
them. That that the muse has a messianic quality. Okay,
Yes.
and we're not saying like no egotistical thing. That's that for people to worship.
Mm-hmm.
What we're saying is that the muse,
Carry on, brother. I'll be right back. Carry on.
okay, what we're saying is that the muse allows an oil to flow. And that's what meshi is. Meshi is oil. The whole concept of anointing points back to oil. Okay. And it's like, okay, here it's like what Brianna said: knowledge, divinity, skills, body to manifest. All of those things coagulate within the muse. And so at the turn of the 20th century, after this Uranus Pluto alignment, we see the genius that can come out of the muse. Okay? Whether it's through the spoken word, it's through the instrumentation, it's the creation of new genres of music. Okay? We then see again the genius that can come through the muse. Peace, Brother Williams. We see the genius that can come through the muse again after this alignment. Okay. And so there's an understanding of, by these folk who are at these certain levels, make no bones about it, there is an understanding of the power of the muse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And, of course, we got to give a shout out to the brother Bobby Hemmett for, you know, introducing a lot of us to just this concept. But, this is how I found out about this book. This is Greek Myths, Robert Graves, Greek Myths. And I just want to just something quick here about the muses. Mountain goddesses. And that right there is very key. Mountain goddesses. Because when we're reading like in mythology and things, and the Bible, any other text, the mountain refers to the mind. Okay, so the muses, mountain goddesses, originally a triad, are the triple goddess in her orgiastic aspect. Okay, and so then if muse gives us music. So
Mm-hmm.
then we'll go and so music comes from the root min. Now, whenever we hear min is going to reference back to the moon because it's mn. Is also going to reference the mind. So, and
She
it's
said that. Oh,
huh?
wow. She just said that.
Who?
Brianna.
The muse goes for them assigned. Right, right. Have one's mind roused.
Mm.
So the muse then and the music has the power to rouse people's minds.
Yes. Peace, Brother Williams. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, Brianna
And
on it.
it triggers you to do.
To do.
And I remember I said something to you maybe around when we first when I yeah, it must have been around when we first started kick um talking.
Hmm.
And I was like, bro, sometimes I'll be wanting to make these dark beats, but I feel like it may trigger someone to do something. And you were like, that's on them if they do that. It was something in that vein.
Hmm.
And but I felt like what you just said made me feel like I can create a beat that may make someone want to do something. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying negative, I'm not saying negatively, but that's what it made me think. Cause I'm like, yo, if I make a beat that's kind of mopey and sad, and then somebody that's in that mood listen to it, what if they harm themselves? So it made me think about when I'm creating my art and it's touching people, in a way you can control you I not control them, but you can maybe help foster something in them to go left or right.
Well, this is what that hit, but here's the other key thing: intention.
Right.
So one of the amazing things about music to me is that there's a way to communicate, and not just music, just communication. Period. Which is, music is a form of communication.
Right.
It
Yep.
allows you to broadcast your intentions to your audience, and for you as a producer, it allows you to do it without saying or stating your intention. So even to me, just to me, if the beat is dark, maybe you were in a dark place when you produced the beat,
Right.
but at the core of you, what type of intentions fuel you?
Mm.
So, because those are all infused into what the muse produces, you know?
Got
And so, like, I've written some of the beats, and he was like, well, that beat was kind of dark. And I was like, well, I didn't take it that way.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
wrote this to it.
Right. And it was like,
So it's and so to me that is yin and yang, that's balancing out, you know. That's the beauty of not sitting down and having this structured plan of, well, I intend for this beat to elicit this emotion, and I think what we need to do is you, it is, I don't know what you're thinking when you doing. So now some of them, like, let's say mood rings, like that shit sound like I was I was reading Aleister Crowley, and I
the
I
sample
decided
the
to,
sample dictated that. It was just like, ooh, I heard that. I
yeah.
was like, ooh. And you know what's funny? Because I know you said that, and I ain't even said this before. I don't even think that beat's dark. I just think it's melodic. It's just
See,
like walking in the walking in the in the daffodil, walking through some flowers, just like do 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 do, like you just having a good time. It's some little whistling going on in there, like it remind me of like some type of fantasy or something.
yeah, that mood ring hits me. And peace, Yoel. I appreciate that. Yoel
Yeah,
said,
peace,
great
brother.
drop on Killer Priest.
Thank you
Yes,
for that.
sir.
Thank you for that.
Appreciate that. When I heard that beat, I said, this is dark. So first thing, and I didn't take it as no dark, as in, y- you know, it put me in the mindset of how I'm going to say the lyrics, how my inflection is going to be, you
Right.
know. Um, and I said Saturn.
Mm,
I'm going to talk about Saturn in this, and
yes.
Uranus, and the story of how they had to battle. Saturn cuts off his daddy's phallus. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? Saturn tries to kill his newborn son before his newborn son is Zeus. He tries to off him. His mama has to give him a rock to eat because he was going. Just crazy. Just
right. Right.
Saturn, and when Father Time still was young, a child of Uranus, he cut his pop's phallus off and dripped the sky was raining. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying?
yes.
So, but it's just, I don't went off on it.
No, because I think honestly, when we look back at those musicians that I got some I got some guys that touch me in that musical vein to it's through them why I try to make the beats I do. For one, I try to do everything when I sit down with no plan and let what come forth come forth. So when I listen to a Miles, so when I that's why I love listening to interviews of like jazz guys or guys that's trying to like I told you recently. I've been listening to I've been watching like architecture videos and stuff like that because I want to tap into what people see, like how they have a vision and then trying to fashion it into reality.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But with the music, it's even deeper because, you know, Miles Davis said even space is an instrument. And I was
Mm-hmm.
listening to this beat last night, and I peeped I did that without even knowing I did it, and it was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was listening to I finished Glitches in the Matrix last night. I did the last track,
Okay.
and I'm listening to the track, and I'm like, yo, I did it without doing it. And then when I'm listening to the track, there's a time where I fill in the space.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yo, so these are the so instead of looking because yeah, I don't I don't know if it's pre-programming or the programming, but yes, I did look at people and put them on pedestals and was like, yo, this is my idol. And then I started saying, no, let me look at them from the artistic point and leave it at that. I enjoy your art because when we get to idolize, and now that means I support the, to me, it can mean you support everything somebody doing. Not and we all human and we wow. So like, you know what I'm saying? So like we not about to go down that lane. Like, yo, he can't do no wrong. But then this dude was beating on this joint. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Like he's beating on his wife or something and bugging. Like, nah, like I don't get with that. And that's when I start understanding people saying separate the art from the person. You know what I mean? And really tapping into, yo, this guy is an ill or this woman's an ill creative. Listen to them or what they was tapping into to bring forth what they did. And that's what I did. Because when I was listening to those records, it was like, man, this stuff is just sending my mind like, I'm just I mean, I could listen to certain jazz joints and I would think about my future from that point moving forward of like, man, well, this is what I want to do. It was like a dopamine trip. So it was like that's what I wanted to do with my instrumentals. That's why I'll make, as you know, I do, I give you a 2 transition joint, and then I might give you a 4 or 5 transition joint. You know what I mean? But it just it's all dependent on the material because I don't want because what happens is if I lock in with I'll wind up doing the same beat 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, nah, when I sit down, just go ahead and create and leave it at that. And then that's when I bring forth the best stuff. You know what I mean? Sometimes if I'm kind of like, man, let me use an instrument I never use. And I start like this track I got start to finish. It starts off one way. We never even go back to how it starts. You know what I'm saying? It progresses into something else, but I use that as a starting point, and then I put that in the music to show you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you listen to the track, people they may not know, but it's like, yo, I put this in here. Like I use this to start me off, but we ended in a whole nother place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Yoel said you learn to see the cup not just for its clay, but the hollow essence you can drink from.
Yes, indeed.
Wow,
Yes, indeed.
that's
Yes,
dope.
appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's a good way. Um, yeah, it's the key thing, like you said, is not to the messianic nature of the muse is not to be worshipped.
Yep.
And I think the key thing to focus on with the word Messiah or Mashiach is that it's an oil.
Hmm.
It is supposed to flow. So I think what you're describing also about artists, and for me, um, my inspiration from art and other people's art is an urging for it to flow through me, my own version of my messianic energy, which is just my own flowing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think it's important to make that point because, like you said, we have been conditioned to search for a messiah, as in a static individual or state,
Mm-hmm.
because we look for to externalize things so that we can place our woes, fears, and whatever else onto it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so when we look back, going back to the astrology, we look at that Uranus Pluto um, conjunction from 60 to 72. And it's something I always bring up, is that in 1966, Star Trek, first episode of Star Trek airs. But in 1966, the Black Panther Party was founded. And those two things may seem like they don't have nothing to do with each other. But it shows to me, and it relates back to this idea of a Mashiach.
Mm-hmm.
It shows the importance of knowing what words really mean, and internalizing them, because the idea was put forth for a certain group of people to focus on something outside of themselves to be their guiding light, which would be, the a lot of the civil rights movements. You know what I'm saying? And at the same time, there was a show that comes out that says, we're going to boldly go where no man has gone before. And to me, that is really speaking to something messianic. So, because it's like the further in you can go, the further out you can go. And ain't that supposed to be what the what a inner flowing of something is supposed to be? Messianic, you know. And so I think it even ties into our conversation, because we see the same energy again cycling back of, we got to uh, uh, update the software of looking outside versus looking within, you know. And so even when we see that artist who really excites us and makes this great art, unfortunately for some, maybe it doesn't encourage them to engender themselves. It just gives them an iconic something to focus on and worship.
Yes. Without understanding you have it within yourself. It's like I told you, I got friends that can draw and they play with it. Like I got a friend back in PA, his handle's ridiculous. And one of our friends passed away um about a month ago now, somewhere in there, and he had called me and he was like confirming it, and we talked on the phone, me him and another friend from back home. We talked on the phone for like 6-7 hours, just like his phone died. I call back, he charges when he call. And but I asked him, like, yo, how, like, what are you doing with your art? And he's like, oh man, you know what I mean, I dibble and dabble here and there. And I'm just like, ever since I done dug into making music again and putting music out on, digital platforms and all of that, and me and Jamal doing music, and we're putting material out, Everyone that I come in contact with that's a creative, I'm like, yo, are you tapping into your art? Because these guys have next level talent. You know what I mean? And it's like, bro, the way I see it is like, yeah, they're still gatekeepers, but at the same time, the floodgates is open for creatives, bro. We have a lot of things at our disposal to be creative. You know what I mean? We got these streaming services to put your music out. You got Adobe and all of that stuff to create visuals. Like, you got people making films with iPhones. You know what I'm saying? It's like, bro, it's a lot of different things going on that if you could tap in, you can get your art off right now. And it'll free you because now you're doing something that's internally in you and it's gonna give you benefit, man. It's gonna give you um a renewing, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? I've been like doing this music has renewed me. Um
Hmm.
while still working on my personal self. And then as I grow on my personal self even more while doing the art, it only enhances the art. It makes me go even harder in the art. So I'm talking to my buddy. I'm like, yo, man, like tap into your art, bro. Like it's wide open right now. People are looking for artists right now to do things. So, yeah, it's like people are coming into contact with, man. Like I'm really pressing them to tap in because I really feel like, you know, generally speaking, I feel like everyone has something to bring to the table. But some people may know what it is, some people may not, some people may, I used to play with dudes that would play basketball and wouldn't even go hard. And I'm like, yo, if I had your skill set, I'll be going hard right now. Like, I knew guys that could hoop, but they wouldn't go hard hooping. And maybe they was just like, who I'm playing with the talent is and all of that. I'm just gonna. But I also felt like when you don't play the right way, you get hurt.
Hmm.
So just play. You know what I mean? I don't care if you are going to dominate us, go in. Because I'm gonna tell you, if I had your talent, I'll be going in. My
Hmm.
talent was I could hoop, but I wasn't a hooper like that. You know what I mean? But so I'm all for finding what your internal um creativity is and finding a way to tap into that and bring it forth.
Sir, I'm trying to pull something up. It goes along with what you're saying.
Because it's like, you was talking about messiahs, man. And remember they used to show those Michael Jackson concerts and he just jump on stage, man, and people faint. You didn't pay 200. You done got to the concert 2 months ahead of time. You in the front of you at the gate. He as soon as he pop on stage, you faint and leave the concert. It's like, yo, that's crazy.
Hmm.
He's just standing there. You're like, Michael. Yo, listen. Yo, that's crazy.
So check this out. I've said this often times that I've become I've become to feel come to feel like um
I
the
say now UL. Yeah, that those are not to cut your wisdom, fam. But yeah, he says right now digital art in all forms is on a train of hype with NFT transfers. Yeah, people really tapping into that right now. Non fungible, what is it called? Non fungible, fungible. I forget what the stand for, but I just watched a couple. I just watched a video on that about this dude uploading his art onto one of those platforms. Yeah,
hmm.
yeah, it's about to be super digitized right now, straight up. But my bad, bro.
Yeah, so I'm leaving out this morning and starting to feel like the well, it's not starting. I've noticed more and more. I've become more sensitive to all my surroundings, and
Fungal
uh,
tokens, fungal tokens.
they start picking up messages. Okay, so as I'm leaving out, this van passes by called King with had King's Remediation on the side of it. And so, part of in that word remediation is remedy.
Mm-hmm.
Remedy is fix something, fixing the king. Okay, and so you uh, look up that thing. It says King's Remediation has been helping customers restore their properties after disasters. Our services include water damage restoration, fire damage restoration, water damage cleanup, fire damage cleanup, and it goes on. But just right there, you know, this this that's some heavy shit. Even 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 just a straightforward level of just the energy itself. This what it's saying: water damage restoration, fire damage restoration. So water represents emotions. Okay, so
Wow.
water
Mm-hmm.
damage restoration,
Ooh.
restoring your emotional body. Fire damage, restoring your damaged identity. Fire is your identity. Okay, uh, water damage cleanup, purifying,
Mm.
rejuvenating, fire damage cleanup. Again, we're talking about healing because burnt tissue heal. And
Yes.
so, and this is especially because I've been looking at these charts, and man, I know I'm going all over the place, but I'm telling you, this shit is all connected. It's all connected. You know, when you see Pluto and the moon in the same house, you know, we're seeing the opportunity for emotional healing, water damage, restoration.
Mm. And
So,
somebody knows something because that name. What was it? What was the name of the company again?
King's remediation. This ain't
Yes.
no this ain't no
Yes.
slow learner that they came up with that name. That's some heavy
Right.
shit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm driving down and it hit me like King's remediation. Like, damn. You know, and then I get on the highway and about to drop the babies off at school and pass the truck. It says legacy.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And so, we know that, a lot of the work we're doing is legacy based,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, so it's important for the king to find a remedy for his legacy. It's important for us to learn how to heal
Yes.
for our legacy.
Yes.
And so, with the music, music can be a tool of healing. It can be a tool of inspiration.
Yes.
It can be a tool of to stir insightful probing. You
Yes.
know,
Yep.
uh, a tool of exploration.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been in a box? Step outside this box. You know, you thought that the beat was supposed to have. Well, we're talking about real time application. It might
Right.
it might seem mundane when I say it, but for if you've been under the mindset that the beat's supposed to come in 4 bar intro, I'm gonna go in maybe 8 bars in, the beat might have a slight change. I get to 16, I'm gonna do my hook, and I'm gonna come back in, and somebody sending you something with might not even have no fucking drums in it, or it might be just like, man, what? And I'm gonna be honest with you, I had sometimes like I don't know, I might would have put a such and such right there, but see, we have to let go of the box that we in. Like, you know what? I'm gonna try this.
Yes.
I'm gonna push myself. I want to expand myself. You know what I'm saying? And what happens is something new is birthed. And
Right.
so that if the music can have that effect on the person who's involved in creating, then what can it possibly do to the person who's listening?
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? I know I'm just all over the place. This shit is not.
Nah, because I think what it is, we lost. See, when you talk about these guys doing the line, well, not understanding the alignments, they push creativity to the background, and they push forth um uh for the lack
Pers-
of a better word, sameness. So
mm,
when you hear the hip hop now, let's just tap in the hip hop. It all sounded like, you know what I mean? The guys that are doing something different aren't on the mainstream because they no longer want that type of hip hop to ever reach the mainstream again. Now, here and there somebody might sneak in and drop something, but the majority of the hip hop is going to sound the same. So when you dealing with all the artists, like the great jazz artists, you know, my mom, we was just at my mom's house this evening, and she was talking about the music she grew up on, having a message in the music. And you know, we was listening to uh the OJ's what's the name of the song, For the Love of Money. And she was just talking about those, like just the lyrics and the songs. Or you think about the Whispers Olivia, you know, and when I got into the background of that song, like the dude that wrote that song was talking about his niece. You know what I'm saying? So it's like things coming from real life. Yeah, it was the OJ's. Um and we don't have that anymore, at least on in the mainstream. You know what I'm saying? And at least I'll say more or less with hip hop, because that's the number one genre of music right now. You know what I'm saying? Because I still listen to jazz, and this dude's in jazz that's trying to still push that thing forward. But when they come to hip hop, even the structures, I mean, they didn't change the structure. They got 2 minute songs now. You know what I mean? But I think what we're bringing forth to the music is no set boundary of anything. You know, you might get a beat with no chorus, and Jamal spit, and then on another part of the beat he was spitting on is the chorus now. Things like that, just giving your mind something different, that every time you hear a Think Music track, just know it's all organic, and it's all original. It's all from an original place, an original thought of being motivated from the past. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not super motivated by what I see today when it come to my art. Because I still go back and listen to old jazz interviews, and like I said, now, yeah, listening to architecture videos and all of that stuff, like, to yeah, that type of stuff is when I sit down, it's like, yo, what building can I make? And this is why now I'm doing musical digital art. Is my new spin, because I want my art. When you listen to my beat, I want you to look at it as a portrait. I want when you listen to when I put a beat tape out, I want you to imagine yourself walking around an art gallery. And I called it digital because I'm not using anything analog. I'm not playing the piano. I'm not using a guitar. You know what I'm saying? I'm not playing drums. You know what I'm saying? I'm using a digital way of creating music. So it's no, I think it's digital musical art. I'll get my name right, but it's digital musical art. And that's what I'm bringing forth to the people. You know what I'm saying? So now it's time to tap in with the visual side, you know. And when I post pictures on Instagram, I posted one today, and I put some bars behind it. You know what I'm saying? But when you look at the picture, I want you to look at it like an art piece. I mess with the filter a little bit, but it's me taking a picture of a little bit of my legs, of like my shorts, my legs, and my sneakers. But then there's other things in the background of the picture, and I didn't move anything around. I just captured it as it was, and that's art, because art is subjective. Then I put a beat behind it called live theater. You know what I'm saying? You have that beat. I put that beat on there, and boom. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at with the, with the thing. And, with the music and with the art, that's where I'm at. And using people from the past as a guidepost, as motivation, and as a way to bring forth and give people the feeling that I felt from them. That's what I want to do with my music and our music. You know what I'm saying? Without you putting me on the pedestal. We don't need the pedestal thing, because I know you were talking about that before. You don't want to be looked at as, a quote unquote God. You know what I'm saying? With the lyricism, you want people to respect your lyricism and not put you. You know what I'm saying? As we was tapping into that before. Um, yeah,
Hmm.
just
Well,
push the art forth.
well, for me personally, my lyrics are uh, I'm trying to entice people to the teaching.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their thing everybody's got at least one purpose down here in this three-dimensional world. And so one of mine is teaching. And it's not on some egotistical thing. It's just I do it partly for myself. Because if you got to teach something, you got to learn it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you got to present something to people, you have to focus your mind to a greater extent to be able to learn it for yourself, to be able to articulate it in a way that a person can understand it. So part of my purpose is to learn through teaching. So when I craft bars, I'm not concerned with being heralded so much. I mean, everybody likes a good pat on the back every now and then, but really, I'm trying to entice people into the whole teaching thing. That's my shit,
Yeah.
you know. Um, Also, I said this a long time ago. Um, I don't try to write to be understood. I learned to stop trying to fit into what I think would make people comfortable.
Yes. That's some of the
And
best MCs.
yeah, and just I'm just gonna do whatever the divine has given me the gift to be able to craft. I'm just gonna do it and not put a governor on myself because I've lived
Right.
too much of my life with a governor. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there was a time like in high school, I practiced being dumb so much, I damn near about pulled that shit off. You know, and so at this point in my life, I really just don't give a damn. And I'm gonna do it to the full extent, and my goal is to try to talk to people's subconscious mind.
mm.
And it's like you were saying that your wife was saying about listening to the bars and putting headphones on and maybe closing your eyes. Like I really, really, that's what I really, really be wishing people would do. Like man, just like the way I do with the beats. You know, when the babies go to sleep at night and the house is quiet,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I put my my beats on and I'll listen, and I can hear all the shit that I didn't hear. I hear like a little white noise in the back. I hear
Mm-hmm.
something sound like somebody was shaking shit in, shaking popcorn in a bag. Like, man, I'm like, damn, we got a lot of little trinkets in here.
Right.
And so those make little synapses in the brain fire.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could demonstrate what it looks, to me, it's like my brain's doing this.
Yes.
And it starts, I don't know where it come from. It's like, I start typing. You know,
You're Rain Man.
yeah, you know. And so I don't know. That's another thing too, is that with there being a jazz element,
Mm-hmm.
I feel that what think music produces is a coagulation of that energy from that lost generation that produced gospel, jazz, toast, ragtime, all of that. It's a melding together of that because I'm still influenced by growing up in the church.
Right.
You know, there's that element's always there. Like if you listen to Divine,
Mm-hmm.
just the little singing part. That's you know that's always going to be there. Um, then there's the thing of the jazz element of growing up with my father listening to Grover Washington and Spyro Gyra and Chuck
Mm-hmm.
Mangiano, or I'm probably fucking his name up,
Chuck
but
Mangione.
Mangione, okay, Bob James,
Yes.
you know,
Cockatoo's a Spiral Gyro sample too.
yes. Um, I just think there's something different about that, man. Putting all those elements together,
Mm-hmm.
it creates something, you know.
Jazz was a form of music that taught us how to tap in because whenever it's time for your solo, you did what you wanted, but you had to. Miles Davis has this saying about when Coltrane played with him. Miles Davis said, "Sometimes I get so lost in the music that I, I, I don't know how to stop." And I think I said this before to you. Miles Davis' response was, "Take the horn out of your effing mouth." You know
Mm,
what I'm saying? But when you get your solo on a jazz record, you're supposed to improvise.
mhm.
You're improvising within the structure, but you get to go out and do your thing now. And then you reel it back in and come back to the main chorus and you play that for maybe 8 bars and then somebody else take off. Then you come back and do the whole tune together. And jazz really showed us how to improvise. I think jazz and hip hop freestyling, real freestyling. Like I'm talking about off the head, no freestyling or written to a different beat. I'm talking about straight off the top. And I was really great at that at a time.
Mhm.
Um so for me coming up on jazz primarily and then, over time my mom bringing in the R&B and then myself bringing in the pop music and the rock music. It's like pulling from everything. You know what I mean? Because like I think looking at the comments, it says um which one was it? Uh, because it made me think about something. Oh, people want. No, I think it was something UL said. Anyway, um, it might be back up a little bit. Let me see. I didn't do that, did I? Oh, okay. Um, anyway, man, I forgot. But using that to tap in, um, to bring our, using that to tap in to bring in our, creativity. Um, I lost my train of thought, bro. My bad, man. I forgot where I was going because it lined up with one of these comments, and I can't remember which one it was, um, but just using that energy to tap into what we doing. I think with what you just said about how you came up with me tapping into the music I came up with, and then us coming together and bringing forth the music we do. I think it's powerful, and we've seen that on Killer Priest's podcast.
Mm.
An audience that's never heard our music, and we're very excited and with what they heard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um,
And this
and I
is
thought
a
that was beautiful.
intelligent audience at that.
Yeah.
Discriminating ears.
So for people that like the bars and the beats, and then it like I told Jamal when we was talking about it offline, I was like, yo, it makes you want to keep going in the direction you're going because it's like it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? To get feedback like that, it makes sense. It's like, yo, making those sample choices and chopping those samples the way I did, or the organics the way I did, it made sense. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I'm not crazy. You know what I mean?
Uh, this is the link in the chat to the Killer Priest podcast, the show that plays some of the music on. If you go to like
Yeah,
an hour and a half, go to like an hour.
about 32, I think, or something like that. They started.
About an hour 36. Yeah. Yeah, that's when they'll start kind of playing it. Yeah, just had to put a little bit of skin in the game. But that's, it's how it is,
Right.
that's part of this thing now is hmm, that was one of them, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Mood Ring.
Oh yeah,
That
mood
Mood
ring.
Ring.
You wanna let it roll?
Yeah, I think just to give the people of, you know, this is a track Jamal was talking about, and this is gonna be on a release we're dropping soon. And this beat gave him the feeling to write um something amazing. So I'll play a I'll play it real quick. You hear that?
Mm-hmm. that white noise in the back.
Yeah.
There's in the back of the beat. It's going like a subtle white noise, like back in the day when the TV station would go off and they'd play the little anthem. And then after that, it'd be like, psh, but it's
Yep.
real subtle. You know, it's little things like that kind of mess with your head. You know,
I
you
like
know.
that. She said, "Let's hear a preview bar." Ah,
uh, yeah, we got to get our thing to where we can sync up. But it's let's see here.
how did that sound? Did that sound crisp? Because I redid
Not,
my mic.
not all the way, but I mean
Not all the way.
it's um you can't pick up all of the little subtleties. I mean, but
Okay.
I mean you can hear it. Um, but it's not coming through full of what I know it sound like.
Right. I gotta still figure that out, man.
Yeah.
I need that thing ringing. But yeah, that's just a concept of sitting back, throwing something on. Um, I found that on there's this record label called I think it's called ECM, and I went on Wikipedia and looked up the record label's whole discography and found that, rest in peace to Chick Corea, who passed away a few weeks back. Um, I could hear in my earplugs. Oh, okay, so it's better with the ear joints on, or with the earbuds on. And I found his first album, and even though that wasn't from that, but that's just where I go, man. Like I just, pulling these ideas from, oh, let me go on this Wikipedia, and then now I see all these records, and then I go on my YouTube Music and look for the record and listen to it, and and I'm telling you, every time I do it, it's something crazy. And I sit and I'm already lined up and ready, and I'm getting that. Boom, boom, boom. Chop, chop, chop. Text Jamal, check your email, fam, and it's done. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like with that beat, he heard that beat, and when I get a text like "oh brother" or or 8 bars or something, I know it's a wrap. Like
Yeah.
it's a wrap. So
This one's a
that's just a
layup.
little ways of that's just a little ways of how we tap in, man. I just send them joints, and yeah, when he told me this one particular beat that gave him excitement, I was like, bro, let that be how we put out music. You know what I'm saying? That excitement you get from the track, that's what we put out, because it's you tapping in, it's you tapping into whatever that beat's giving whatever you're getting from that beat, you're pulling from the ethers and you're tapping in and you're writing. We need to put that type of stuff into the world, and it'll do something.
One thing I'm really excited about this song is that um, I'm not a hip hop historian like that. So he corrected me. I think somebody has done something with a mythology, um, but I don't know. I don't know of many who have been able to take a mythological story and craft it into bars. You
Mm.
know, and so when the title was Mood Ring, I said Ring And then the way the beat sounded, I thought about Saturn's rings. So I said, a lot of times I just roll with whatever title he got on it because I just try to challenge myself as a writer. Just I'm gonna make it fit, you know, because he
Yeah.
picks these obscure titles, Monaco Visions, Milan Fashion Week. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, this challenge round shit. Okay, so
Mysterious fragrance.
yeah, you know, um, but so okay, so here, just I'm gonna give it a slice of how it hit me. You know, I know it don't do justice because it ain't with the beat, but when Father Time still was young, a child of Uranus, he cut his pop's phallus off and dripped the sky was raining. The time known as Kronos, who was also known as Saturn, tried to kill his seed, what we have is a vicious pattern. But Rhea hit Zeus, put a rock in Saturn's belly, and prosperity was nurtured by the wet nurse's Betty. Hell the vendetta, hell must be better than to know your father wants to wear your hide like a sweater. Grand Pops Uranus rebellious fight against time, and when conjunct Mars, he don't walk a straight line. Now Saturn and Jupiter together in Aquarius, low magicians are active, never their intentions are nefarious. I'm gonna stop it right there. Um, so yeah, it's gonna be dope when we have a chance to get to go to the studio, or when I can go to the studio and be part of these next four that's coming out. But it's coming from an era where um people used to jerk you around about getting into the studio. You know, you'd be like, man, I can get you some studio time. I like what y'all doing, and you be sitting around waiting and waiting. It used to be a mystery getting into a studio. So at our age, I'm still excited about the idea of being able to go and record music. I ain't got over that yet. I'm still, because I'm
Yeah.
still making up for 97, 98. And back then my verses was, I remember one song we had, Fleetwood. See, I'm from the South, so it ain't, you know, it's obvious the draw. So, we was really on our South shit. No Limit was really lit back then. We had one hook. Fleetwood, Buick, Regal, Chevys, and Vogues.
Ooh.
17-inch chrome spokes kissing the Vogues. Uh,
Ooh.
5-inch medallion, heavy weighted with gold. Uh, Fleetwood, Buick, Regal, Chevys, and O's. Fleetwood's, Buick, Regal, Chevys, and O's. 17-inch chrome spokes kissing the Vogues. 5-inch medallion, heavy weighted with gold. With gold. Something, something, that's how we roll. Iced out, lights out, pimps on the road. Something, 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 something. That's how we roll. That just give you an idea where my mind was,
Yeah.
at 20, Um, and I remember one time we had a perform. The only time I've ever really performed live, um, these two guys I played football with in college, Cranston and William Butler. They was doing a performance. They wanted one more person to get on with them, and I know their hook was something about peace to all the women who demand respect. Proverbs 31, something like that. But it was kind of like a positive thing. But I had to come with my version of how I was going, and I said, "Clutch the Dutch and such paraphernalia with the touch. I trust you can roll the Corona Deluxe in the rush." I was blowing back then.
Ooh.
Clutch the Dutch and such paraphernalia with the touch. I trust you can roll the Corona Deluxe in the rush and the plush pad. Young girls get crushed on the hush, known to make the fountain gush when I bust. Replace your man in the starting lineup like Charlie Batch. Pop the hatch, blowing Isley, pumping Isley while I blow out your back. Now the wax put on you. I know you freaky. Now the wax put on your tatas. I know you're freaky like that. The ice melting on your cat. I feel your body react. Twice as nice as any girl before I came in contact with. Legit articulate, never easy to hit. Spit more game than this live cat could ever resist. Miss Stick Hips, luscious lips, give me a kiss. So we can slip, slide, dive into some devilish deeds. Break every rule in the handbook, fulfilling your deeds, fulfilling your needs. From the days of grinding in the park, covered with leaves, to playing lovers games, strawberries, honeys, and cream. Yeah. So I wrote that at like 20.
Ooh. Using your braggadocious,
Yeah.
battle, test it, take your
Yeah.
John, everything.
Hey, the women was loving that shit. I was like, okay, that was my only time. My one and only time. That's the only rhyme I can remember from back then. But yeah, brothers come a long way.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know. Um, yeah, just fun to reminisce.
Yeah. That was dope.
You got an old bar you wanna.
Oh man, let me see. Oh man. What's the first thing that come to mind? Whirlwind of blends to ascend upon horizons. Too much slipping caught sliding from not being provided proper guidance. Results are tyrants who love singing like sirens. Well, in my own mind, I'm trying to reverse psychology on how we rhyming. Excuse the fuse I blew when you chose the wrong route, and no doubt about your album when it comes out. I'm just stating to awaken before your shit gets taken. Earthquakes will break your block apart like Lego pieces. Can you see this? You might think we hard like life in the clink. Grab the attention of your pretty girl with dress to drink. Enriched with intelligence to shine on my presence. Deep like Mexicans on stage or in my section. Lessons have been taught. Locked it like a vault, more courageous than Satan when expressing God his thoughts. Big lifted and licked them. Then I kiss his blended rhythm. Jump off Wilma when I feel the sensation of my jism. Feel that for the mic. You rhyme like flat bikes. Admire how I write. I clips will give you 40 years a night. Forever I write these vicious words to recite that'll break you down like bleeds being smoked on many sites.
Oh shit! All right, all right.
Yo, listen. On that joint, I remember writing that. I thought I was on my resin on that joint. Like I was in my resin bag.
Yeah. Paint the picture.
Well,
Okay, let's see here. Let's see, what am I writing on? What am I writing on? What's new? Let's see. Now this is gonna be. You want to play
the beat up? Let me pull the beat up.
You want to play a little bit of this? Figure this.
Oh yeah. Let me pull that up.
This right here.
This beat, right? This beat is different.
Lord of mercy. They get that. Bum, 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 bum.
Let me know when you ready.
You talking about go over it?
Just to play it. Well,
yeah.
You can't hear that wrote a rhyme over it, right?
Nah, yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, play it.
All right. I tried to share my screen, but that was my bad.
Oh boy, this part.
And then we take it there. We go left on y'all.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this EP we about to drop. This EP we about to drop. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy.
Yeah. All that talking with subliminals. Leave it to a minimal. Your light dim, short-lived like it's ephemeral. Every bar joust is seminal. Semen on a clitoral. The word of genius literal. I put a pit bull in a pit, leaving pitiful. Pain for the profane, propane, flame a lane. Put some respect on my first, middle, and last name. Henry Jamal Robinson conquers all. Abnormal gang swing round with Southpaw. The with love in his heart for he finish him say no. Compassion, patience for minds that are basic. Blind eyes need LASIK. The kid in class who aced it. Write these slow learners off the pages. This ain't my first rodeo, been here for ages. And as I age, I appear ageless. I got big trumps, the jokers, and the aces. Cards down, hands up, nobody get wasted. The hate, I can taste it. Envy, jealousy, they stand adjacent. The insecurity, idle thoughts can place it. Think music, melodic minimalism in phases. All bases and stasis. Cover, we know the matrix is ill. So with will, we whip wheel clay vases. Hold water, aquarian, lionized spaces. That's a little snippet.
Oh, vicious. Over that beat. Oh, my
Oh boy.
God.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy.
That breakdown piece.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see where the bar is at when that come in.
Yeah. It's exciting to be able to. It's fun, man. Just having fun.
Yes.
Just having
No
fun.
pressure. No pressure. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I got one more for the people, if you don't mind, before we check out.
All right.
Moorish Legacy. Breakdown.
Moorish Legacy. Gotta go to the studio.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, man. See, those like that beats like five different transitions, and that's why this is that's why it's digital musical art, man. I'm telling you, like that's the whole vision behind it, man. And when Jamal come with these bars on top of it, bro, it's a whole nother. It's just a whole nother. It's a whole nother thing. It's a whole nother animal, man. Like real rap. Um, the way we putting these projects together for y'all. Um, like I be telling him, it's high science, man. You know what I mean? Like it's high science, bro. Like for real. You know. Um, when you put your earbuds on and listen to this music, our hope is to take you somewhere. His hope is the lyrics. Um, as he said, once you want to learn, you want to be taught the beat for you to zone out on the lyrics. Yes, multi-spectrum, exactly. You know what I mean? I hope the bed of the music just enhances his lyrics. So when you sitting there listening, you're just like, yo, this shit right here is crazy. And rewind it. And there's so many gems in this bars, like just to keep it 100, it's rewindable music. Cause there's so much in there, man. Like it's amazing.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. I'm, 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 I'm I'm ready to go to the studio, man. You know.
Yeah. And this is what it's about. Circling back to what the title is like, yo, enjoy the music. It tap in whatever when you listen to it's just like when we listen to Michael and all the other greats and bands and whatever. It made you want to tap into something. You know what I mean? Be it positive, hopefully positive, hopefully something positive, but it made you want to tap in. You know, they gave you energy to tap in to whatever it was. I man, listen, I can remember listening to so much music. The beat alone send you on the journey. The words then tune it to places of wisdom. Yes, I agree. You will. Um, but yeah, man, I remember listening. I got this. One of my favorite jazz artists, Jean Lupanti, has this song called "Watching Birds,"
Mm,
and I used to listen to that joint crazy because it would just touch me in a way, man. Like I don't know what it was doing. I don't know. Like it's kind of like Jamal said. He was in the studio, and the engineer was like, "What type of what is that putting in the beats? Like it's making me feel funny. Like what does he know about frequencies?" And it was like that's how listening to "Watching Birds" by Jean Lupanti made me feel. And another song by Pat Metheny called Dalton Lee was the same joint. It was just like when I heard those two joints, man. It, I know we all got songs that we could just put on repeat and listen to it for an hour or two straight, just back to back to back to back. And
mm-hmm.
that's how those joints was for me. You know what I'm saying? And those two songs in particular is really why I make beats the way I make beats. Those
Mm-hmm.
two songs is where I make because they gave me that feeling that I didn't know music could give you. And I'll say and John Coltrane's Naima. And yeah, those three tracks, man, is like, yep. And my favorite things, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Coltrane, my favorite things, Naima, John Lupanti, Watching Birds, Pat Metheny, Dalton Lee. Mind, mind, mind burners. Real rap, mind burners. So my hope is that I could, through my art, give people that feeling. and through our art, with Jamal rapping on these musical beds, um, that we could just touch people in that way, man.
No doubt.
Yeah, bro. It's time to get in the studio. It's time to. You right. It's time to lock that in and get this 4-pack to the people. Shit, I think whatchamacallit might fit in there too. Figure this might fit in that 4-pack.
Anything fits.
Anything fits. No doubt.
Um, um, the moon. We had a new moon, and the moon. I'm trying to see when it exactly. I don't know if it's. I'm trying to see if it's entered Aries yet. This says it's supposed to be it.
Brianna said about a half an hour, maybe almost an hour ago. She said the toast, gospel, and jazz all came out from the artistic grand astro alignment. So the messianic anointing is linked to astrology, signs, and intuition.
Where is it at?
She said that back at 1:33 a.m.
It's linked to. Oh, that's a question.
No, I
So,
think she
so
was. I think she wouldn't because how you were saying what the alignment was back then. I think she was
mm-hmm,
tapping into that of that time.
mm-hmm, yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, you did. Okay, you did that right. You
yeah,
highlighted that. Okay, okay.
mm-hmm.
I was like, I didn't think I could do that. Because while we were talking, they were typing thing, and I'm just going back looking.
2:21 a.m. I don't know if this is Pacific. So 2:21 Pacific time would be. They're 2 hours behind. So it's 11:29 there in California. This one says 11:44. Trying to see. I have to break down. Get some software. Okay, it's still March 13th, 11:29 a.m. That ain't right. So either way, the moon goes into Aries shortly.
Okay.
So Aries is initiation. So Pisces is the water that has assimilated, and it's the solvent at 5:21 East Coast time. That
Right.
yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. Because 5:21 will be 4:21 here, and it'll be 2:21 in California. That's right. Okay, so 2 hours, or yeah, almost 3 hours. The moon goes into Aries. Aries is a sign that follows Pisces. Pisces is the water where everything comes to convene. Everything before it is now dissolved in the Piscean water. Aries, Aries, it's a reason that this glyph looks like this. several reasons. If you ever gone to like some little park or the mall or something, you see they got a little fountain or whatever.
Yep.
Okay, that looks like when the water shoots up out the fountain. And so Aries, one of the words is I am. Uh, and we could also say Aries is look at me. And if you know some Aries, you know, they, 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 they tend to like attention and want to be can be a little aggressive. Um, but what I'm trying to get at is what does that mean for right now? It's action time. So when that glyph comes up out of the pool of Pisces, it is to be recognized. It is to be seen. It is not just another molecule in this vast cosmic pool. It has emerged from the water to be seen, to be recognized, to act. Because Aries is a cardinal sign, action. Now, I've been seeing cardinals all this week. They've been coming outside the door and chirping, get my attention. Cardinals, and shout out to Brother Williams too again for sending me this book. One came up on set up on the fence in the backyard today. We got these bright red cardinals, and so Aries is a cardinal sign. Cardinal means hinge. So this, I feel strongly, is a time of action. Like what you've been plotting on, what's been in the works. It's time to put it out there. You know, whatever that might be. To whomever it might apply to. Um, the times getting ready to go forward. We know this man-made manipulation, you know, but still, let's just take it on a symbolic level. Time is moving forward, you know. Um, in the Bible, it says, I am. Moses says, who am I to go back and tell the people sent me? He says, tell them I am sent you. That's an Aries statement. That's Aries. It's fire. It's your identity. This is a time. Ego is not all bad. Ego is not all bad. Everything in that chart is necessary. Everything in the zodiac is necessary. The challenge is getting that shit to balance. That's the challenge. So now is not the time to trash our egos. We need a little bit of ego right now. A little bit of identity. A little bit of motsy. And I just wanted to close on that. For me.
Keep pushing. Tap in. Yes. The work. The ego is a tool. Just don't get trapped in it like a thief. Oh, like belief.
Correct. Don't get trapped in anything. It's incorporation is the key. Everything has a shadow. So the key is balance. So if there is no emergence from the cosmic soup to act, then there is no movement. So there has to be this ego presence, even if it's folly that it thinks itself to be supreme, or whatever it thinks itself to be. Even if it's folly, it is still part of the story. The Zodiac is a story, an ongoing story. And even the story of Aldebaoth has to be re-examined, you know, because Aldebaoth in the Gnostic text says, I created all this, and then it is his mother who says, no, you did not, Aldebaoth. Well, that's the Piscean water speaking to Aries. All those signs overlap each other. In this Western mindset, we tend to think that everything is cut and delineated. It's not. Everything's overflowing. So this Piscean soup has to remind the ego that no, you did not create this on your own. You came out of me. You came out of this cosmic water.
Mm.
Yes. So for me, just the astrology even is helping to look at these Gnostic texts differently. It's a drama. It's not a football game where you pick your sides and say, I don't fuck with that team, but that's my rival. That's the trick. This shit's a drama, you know. So the drama is pointing back to one thing. I think, how do I balance all this shit?
Right.
How do I balance in my relationship? How do I balance with my children? How do I balance to find some time to still be responsible and still fulfill my personal needs? Because you, you can be all motherfucking Hallmark cardish if you want, you know, but the bottom line is we still have to fulfill our own personal needs. You know what I'm saying? To be able to fulfill our responsibilities. The,
Right.
the difficult thing is to find the balance and all that. And so I know I'm going off on a tangent here,
Well, I
but
think how you find that balance is what we're doing in reading, understanding, um, and then implementing application to do those things. You know what I'm saying? And I still tap into um when you me and you talked about this before. I know I shared it that I had a I had a difficult time of rounding my mind to where it is now because I had got into the fiat's nothing and you know I mean money's nothing, it's fiat and the matrix controls everything. So I just got it. I shake I shake myself to a point that when I met my wife and I had to kind of reel back and get back in line to be productive with myself, what I found out first, and then in my relationship and with my children. It took me a minute, a long minute, to shape around to what I'm doing now. So the work to shape my way to a new way of thinking, because it was easy to go into that dismal way of thinking. That was easy. But now to do all of these different things that I'm learning, and me and my wife been talking about implementing what we're learning for years now. That's what this makes me feel like, bro. Like c- doing this work is how you find out balance and how to do all of that by doing this work we're doing,
let
trying
me
to find
ask
out an understanding. Yes.
you, do you feel like this process was you were rediscovering some form of identity?
I think yes. I tapped into my childhood thoughts of when I used to when I was in third grade. We were my father allowed us to have the radio on. My brother would fall asleep fast and I would just be up listening to music, thinking. and I would ask questions.
Think music.
Yes. And I would ask questions to what I call God, all the way to, well, God, if you created everything, who created you? Like everybody asked that question. And then just whatever I was going through or seeing at that time and trying to get an understanding of it. I was putting that out there. And I felt like that's what I'm tapping back into now. And I think the child blind in this innocence. But now my eyes are open a little bit. And I'm not letting what I'm learning affect me. See, that's what it was. Some things I was learning, I was letting it affect me and control me and then send me down a different path. But now that I understand, like, this balance you're talking about is the real work. Now when I read something, I don't take it on eternally and let it bother me. You know what I'm saying? But I'm still working on it. I'm not going to say that it doesn't. I'm still working on it, but that's what I'm progressing to. You know what I mean? I'm progressing, hopefully, you know, like your man, what's his name? Watts used to say, trying to get to Nirvana. You know what I'm saying? But just working my understanding of things that I'm pulling in and understanding, trying to work to that point. And that's what's keeping me away from the BS is doing what I'm doing now.
The truck that passed me this morning, King's Remediation. Re means again, mediate is to measure, to remeasure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a great gift.
Right, UL.
What's that?
No longer caught in the amazement of the world. Maze
Right.
capitalized.
There's a gift in measuring. And I think we're constantly having to go back and keep remeasuring shit,
Mm-hmm.
our shit,
Yes.
life's shit,
Yes.
and it's endless. You know, it as long as you're inside of a human shell, you're constantly remeasuring, and that is and recovering. I always remember this. My high school football coach would say, "I'm not worried about y'all getting tired. I'm concerned about how long it takes you to recover."
Mm.
And it's like what you when you were talking about
Man, that's deep.
when you were talking about how you started to feel about the fiat. That's kind of one of the expressions of the dark side of Pisces is disillusionment. You know, oh, it's just all bullshit. It's all, you know,
Yes.
and because and that's why I asked about. Did you feel like you had a rebirth of your identity or restructuring, however we want to put it? Because
Yes. That
it
happened in
sounded it sounded
'09.
it sounded like Pisces and Aries, like all these energies got a dark, they got a shadow side and a light side to them,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so Pisces can be very um, transitory as far as thinking beyond the scene world. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I got two children who are Pisces, and they're both artistic. You know, um, but it can be depression. You know, it can be, like I said, disillusionment. And so it sounds like you you act it out. I'm just always amazed when I see these things acted out in real time and it's not intentional. It's like organic. It's like you described those archetypes. Like I had to come back and find my fire again. You know, I,
Yeah.
you're a Leo, first of all.
Right.
So Leo is about, you know, um, that archetype. Just the sun rules Leo. If we just keep it just that simple, what does the sun want to do? It wants to shine.
Call you son because you shine like one. Yes.
Want to shine. So it just sounds like he's like I had to come back and find my compatriot, my partner, which is Aries. I had to come back and
Hmm.
re-identify, find light my fire again.
Yes.
You know,
Yep.
I
Yep.
didn't run off with it and become an egomaniac.
Mm-mm.
I just needed to rekindle the fire.
Yes, indeed.
That's some heavy shit. This shit's real. This shit is real. You know, um, yeah, damn. It just always amazes me, man. Just like, I mean, what you weren't intending to line it up with nothing astrological by bringing that up, or were you?
Nah. It just made me. I mean, all I could do was when I'm hearing things. Yeah, I know we pull from places, but I like to pull from self, and that's what I did. Like, you know what I mean? Because you know, and I said this in the last podcast. Really have to tap into it, but two things like my sons were like is what when I was in my place of rock bottom, I knew I had to do something for like my sons was the one. Like it was I just remember like, yo, I gotta be there for my kids, man. Like my son at the time I had two sons, you know what I mean? Me and my wife has a son. But at the time I was like, yo, I gotta get right for my kids. You know what I mean? Like that was like I just remember that always sitting with me. And then I and then I move forward with everything out, the of uh getting back on track. But I just remember like just having a vision of my sons and like, yo, if I'm lost, they lost. And talking to their mother, talking to their grandmother, and just telling her like, you know what I mean, whatever. I'm done with everything. I gotta lock in. And then that's when the transformation started, 2009. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I didn't try to line that up. I didn't try to line that up. That was just what I was feeling, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's it.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, it's heavy. It's heavy. Um, Sometimes too, it's just simply, um,
Mm.
okay, what's this? I got so much stuff be coming through. Let me see. Hit y'all with some yash. Selfstatewellness.com. It's what's up to all my patrons? The
Yeah, if y'all want to,
star.
listen. Oh my bad, my bad.
I'm just reading it. The star and says, mm, that's heavy. The star ancestors are here to guide you in the form when you when your light from within can't light your way. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
What was you?
No, I was just saying, like, Yash, because he talks a lot about being prepared and stuff like that, and
Hmm.
uh, he's funny, but like we say, he makes some true statements, man, and it's
Yeah.
like getting like really figuring out that you were in a place and you need to do something different. Like you hear I guess they say it's the hero's journey. I think that's like the template people use for it or whatever. And it's like you hear a lot of stories, bro, and that's why I think of we're in the time of you can of getting yourself together. And Yash should say the 2/3 ain't gonna make it. That's his go-to.
Two times
Like
ain't gonna make it.
the 2/3 ain't gonna make it. Like so, you know what I mean? If you one of the ones that's doing it to get to the next level and yeah, the Heru journey and get right, like that's it. Because some people not going to do it. All you could do is share the information, as we know. And but when you come across somebody that's like, man, I'm in a situation, and that's the only time I really tell my story. Like I'm not that guy that's just out here running off at the mouth like, look what I did. Like I like to tap in when I'm around somebody that is going through and they need to know a way, like how did you tap in? Like what did you do? Then I go into my story a little bit. But then at the same time we just know like the two like on my Yash 2/3 ain't gonna make it. And it's about just preparing. Jamal was saying something, you said something to me before where you was like, you know, like if this like they say like if where we at now is a learning ground, you're here learning and preparing yourself for what's next. Or you can sit here and just get caught up in the way of the world and follow that run, and then you may come back here because you didn't do nothing. But it's like, yo, if you here doing work and trying to grow yourself and your family and things of that nature, like you're preparing yourself for what's next, and um and I think when we start going back into history, and especially when you look at how the Egyptians prepared themselves for death and what their concept of it was, it's like that seems to make some sense. Of like, yo, you here for whatever, but you're preparing for what's next, or you're gonna come back here. You always hear people talk about that. So now I'm not really sure what happens when we leave this, this realm in in this suit, in this meat suit. But I know a couple things like understanding the world keeps me out of somebody's private prison. Understanding the world keeps me out of somebody's bad area to be in. Like this understanding helps you navigate this world we live in if you tapped in. You know
Yep.
what I mean? And then you can live a comfortable life because it ain't about how much money you got in the bank. You just need that for a means of exchange. But you can live a comfortable life, learn, and then when you up out of here, hopefully you go into the next thing. You know what I'm saying? That's what I have some comfort in.
And legacy, and to know that you left some a legacy,
Mm-hmm.
that whatever you've learned, some kind of way you've begun the process of transferring that to your seeds. Because it's funny, all these books are dealing with some form of agriculture.
Yeah.
You know, it says that Isis and Osiris came and taught man how to cultivate wheat. We see in the Bible the thing about being equally yoked. Well, that's two oxen working the field. You know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, we always see somebody talking about grain offerings and such had this many, sheep and lamb and blah blah blah. It's all comes back to husbandry, agriculture. You know
Mm-hmm.
how to cultivate seeds. to continue the process of life. No matter whatever we want to say about life and this and that,
Mm-hmm.
but just keeping the shit on the top surface, you
Mm-hmm.
know, especially for people who got children. You know, the shit becomes a lot less philosophical when you actually got children. You know, um, and and I hate to keep beating this thing, but damn, I keep hitting me. When you was like, I had to do this. I kept thinking about my children, and it's like, okay, let's just say that if your disillusionment was Piscean, all right,
Mm-hmm.
you looked across your chart to your service house. Directly across from Pisces is Virgo. Like my daughter, my oldest is a Pisces. It's her birthday, right? She's 14 now.
Uh-oh.
Um, Today's her birthday, 13th. So
Oh,
shout
happy
out to my
birthday.
daughter Jazz.
Hey,
Um,
Jazz. Happy birthday.
so she said, Daddy, when I'm manifesting, how can I manifest to be more focused?
Mm.
I said, Jazz, that's not something you really, it's not a magical thing, baby. I said, it's something you have to make your mind up to force yourself to do. I said, that's where your Virgo and your chart is reminding you of, you know?
Mm.
And when you said that about, I thought about my sons. I got to get my shit together. To me, it's like you looked across your chart and you remembered that you had a Virgo on the other side of this delusion. You know what I'm saying? And it's like
Yeah.
reminder of service, sacrifice,
Mm-hmm.
suffer. I'm gonna have to. I probably got some measure of suffering coming up.
Oh, yeah.
So I got to sit in this mission. I don't know
Yeah.
how long I'm gonna be here, but I'm locked in.
Yep.
I'm down to suffer because I got to do it for my seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Because Virgo is doing the work to prepare for the fall or the birth of the sun.
Yes.
God damn. I ain't trying to I'm not trying to I'm talking this shit out.
Yeah,
What
it makes sense.
I'm learning as I'm talking what I'm doing. I'm I'm,
Mm-hmm.
I'm and I'm becoming more and more amazed at this language.
Mm.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's like really where I tapped into prayer and meditation. Like that mission trip, man, and like it was a lot in that joint, man. Like once I really bought in and released myself, like it was a lot of learning in that joint. Service in that, like I did everything. Service, cleaning behind grown men, preparing for preparing food and beds for the homeless. Like you do a lot of stuff in that joint. You know what I mean? Uh, having a mentor. You know what I mean? That taught me some. He shared a lot of wisdom with me. And when I was in there, bro, I seen a lot of redemption stories in that joint. I seen the dude, man, that his wife hated he was in the joint. And when she would come pick him up, like, we had a little time where we could leave. He had to come back, like on the weekends or something. And his like wife would come get him, and you could just he would tell her she was disgusted, but then you could just see it in her face. But his kids was in the back window, like, daddy, daddy's coming for a few hours. Like it was just like it was amazing to see. Like his dad was like straight for him being there because his dad wanted to see his son together, but the wife just couldn't. Why you gotta go there? Why you gotta be with those people? You know what I'm saying? And but that guy enjoyed himself there. You know what I mean? And And I don't know what's going on with him now, but he really worked on himself to get to position himself to be back with his family, bro. You know what I mean? I think he wound up leaving the program a little early because his wife was on him. But but just seeing that, it was just like, bro, man, it was like it was a little, it was crazy. 19-year-old heroin addicts in there, 22-year-old heroin drug addicts, bro. That I met dudes in there that knew the Bible like the back of their hand, and I'm like, yo, you should be a pastor. And he just didn't think he had him in the had him. He didn't think he had it in himself to do it because of his addiction. But he could just break the Bible down to you amazingly. And this dude like 22, 23 years old. You know what I'm saying? Young dudes in this joint. You know what I mean? And I mean, yo, listen. I never been in anything like that in my life. We come up where you don't talk. And, our mentors was in there. We had an afternoon class where you go in there and it was your let go. This is where you let go at and get free.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And it was a dude in there that let go. And when he let go was something similar I was in. And bro, I never had a feeling of this is your turn, go, go, go. Like it was invisible, but I felt it physically. And when I shared what I shared, I was free, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm talking about, I shared things that I thought I was going to never share. You know what I'm saying? And then after that, I went and talked to like 4 different men and shared even more. So there's like 5 people walking around that know my whole story. You know what I'm saying? And that freed me on top of the praying and meditating. And then what I found out was I got out of line with studying and researching, and I went and then I started getting it because I asked God when I was in this joint to reveal everything to me. And this is before I knew about any type of law of attraction and all of that. You know what I mean? Like I ain't know nothing about that in 2009. Listen, bro. I come out the joint. I'm sober now. You know what I mean? Now I'm ready to learn and go in. But when I started going in, on Freemasonry and the Illuminati and all of that. Like that's where I went in. And then, then I come across the Bill Still 3-hour video that I always tell people to watch if you want to learn about the financial system, called The Money Masters. And that right there was it. I was like, oh, this is because you know how it is when you research and when you can see it in real time. It's like, oh, like this is rock, like this is what's going on, bruh. Watch that Money Masters joint, then watch Loose Change and Zeitgeist and all of that. That was it, bruh. And then I went down. Now I'm home. I'm in North Carolina now. But I went when I met my wife. She'd tell you. I was like, yo, like I don't care about money like that. She's like, well, we need a little nest egg. You know what I mean? If something happened to a car, like what we gonna do? I'm like, I'm just like living. And when I'm saying I'm living, I'm not living like every check I get, I'm going to the mall. I'm just like, I'm not worried about investing. I'm not worried about stack. Like my job at the time, I had a 401k and all of that. But I wasn't doing nothing extra. I was just living. Because I was like, yo, this is it. Like the world's messed up. Ain't nothing I can really do to change it. I'm just living. You know what I mean? And then I met my wife, and then it was just like, yo. And now at 3:06 a.m., 3/13/2021, I'm at a place where I'm starting to see the light. Because I've been married and my wife been and yeah, she's silly. And I'm in a place where now I finally see the light, and it took me a long time to pull myself back from Yeah, I almost felt like I went backwards, right? So I hit my rock bottom. I go to the mission. I get some enlightenment. Then I tap back into darkness per se. Then I live in that for a minute, and then I'm pulling myself back out. But now I know not to mess with that like that, and I know not to let it control me, which I didn't know in '09 when I got into it. I let it control me. Now I know not to let it control me. But it took me a minute to remove myself from it. I don't know if that makes sense, but you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, I wasn't tapping into none of the pre '09 stuff after '09, but the information sullied my way of thinking in the world. It just was like the world's messed up and that's it. You know what I mean? Everything is it's the matrix. That is, that's the word to use, right? After '99, it's the matrix. Everything, wah wah wah. So now it's like, no, no, no. Take this information, implement it. Jamal turned me onto a good thing. We're writing in the book, writing that word for a month. Got some remedy from that, and now rocking. You know what I'm saying? It's still working. You know. Sorry for that.
That's good stuff. I mean, it's real. You know, for me, I think that people talk about the thing of the ego death.
Ooh,
I think
I like that, Bray.
one of the most tragic things. Mm, it's been a few things. I think, I think the whole thing in high school. I think that might have been my first time experiencing depression.
Mm,
Um, with the whole recruiting thing, and you're on top of the world, and you know
yes.
you're the greatest, and everybody's blowing your head up, and then bam, in a matter of a weekend, the whole world changes. And you're 18, 17 years old, you're still a child, man. You don't know what
Right.
Um, so I reflect back on that. That's an old wound, um, that I think part of the way I conducted myself for the years following that was a result of that wound.
Mm,
Never understanding, you know. And it's funny, my college coach was Coach Mutt. Or well, Coach Mutt was there my first and second year, I think, and they got fired. But Mutt is also the name of my aunt, Mutt. And
okay.
so Mutt knew that I was when I got up there in school, I was wilding out. And he had gone over to Cherokee to start coaching. And he called me up. He's like, Boo, I want you to come out here. I got a job for you. I want you to coach the O line. And we can pay you, da da da. And I'm like, I was in a bad spot. And I know he knew because it's a small area and everybody know what you're doing, you know.
Right.
Um, and he still took a chance on me, you know. And so he ended up passing in 2014. He had like
Mm,
some type of long, I don't know if it was COPD or something. Um, and he ended up coming down here to Dallas for some conference he was in. And he got in touch with me, needed me to go and pick up some oxygen tanks for him. And I got out there to the hotel and talking to him. He was like, Boo, I'm gonna tell you, that's my nickname,
all
Boo.
right.
So he's like, I want to tell you what really happened with you with the recruiting thing. He said your coach was a redneck. You know, this is his words. He said, yeah, Fogel, the coach from Florida, told me that Fogel told him that you thought you were better than you really were.
Mm.
And that's what he ended up telling a lot of the schools, and that's how we ended up recruiting, because we didn't think we had a chance, and we never tried to recruit you until you know the rest of the people backed off. And that those words, I was happy to know the truth finally and have a little bit of closure, but
Mm-hmm.
that always rings in your head that you weren't good enough. And this is how a person, talking about a child, you know what I'm saying? This is an
Mm-hmm.
adult,
Yes.
and how you can wound. And I know it might not seem like nothing, but your subconscious mind is a motherfucker.
Right.
And when you see that in there, and I'm a pretty confident person, but you know, I can't say that shit didn't fuck with me. It was the anger of this motherfucker did this, but then it's the voice of maybe you're not good enough. Maybe you do think you're better than what you are. You know what I'm saying? And that's a demon had to be exorcised.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just a minor thing. I think one of the worst things happened, and then it then brought up that energy was, and this was even before I had talked to Mutt. Is that prior to that, I truly had an ego death because I was making money hand over foot like I had never made money before in my life, and the shit just came crashing down.
Ooh.
And when they talk about a tower moment and like Tarot, the tower card,
Yeah.
we're sitting there eating dinner, and we get a call from the alarm company, and they say your alarm is going off at your business. And I'm thinking one of these assholes has thrown a rock through the window or something. Um, and we drive down there, and they're down there changing the locks on the business.
Mm.
Now this gym, I've got about over the years and accumulated like probably about $60,000 worth of equipment,
Ooh.
and all of a sudden you can't get to your own stuff. And what happened was we knew we couldn't afford to be in this place anymore. We were trying to move to another gym. A client of mine got mad because she didn't want to drive an extra 5 miles to where we were going to move. She had paid for a year training up front. She wanted $4,000 returned back to her. I said no. I'm not denying you service. You can come to the new location. She called the property manager and told them that I was going to try to move out of the place and break my lease. And them motherfuckers came and locked my black ass out of my gym. And
Wow.
she went and what did they call that? She called her credit card company and disputed. So I woke up the next morning and my account was like $3,000 negative. And that shit, the anger that festered from that look what they did to me anger, man, that shit, I don't know how long for years. The bitterness for years. So when you say like I'm just now starting to see the light, I'm just now starting to see the fucking light.
Mm.
I'm just now recovering from this stuff happened 10 years ago. And it was so horrible. I ended up going back to church.
Ooh.
And this is how the church catches you. The church is set up like a vagina. Okay?
Speak on it.
And you come in there and you're emotional because they already know we live in a world where people are going through shit.
Right.
So I come in there and I have that emotional moment where all this shit has gone on. I feel like my world has come to an end. You know, I'm embarrassed. Ego death. Ego. I think about how embarrassing it was. I was this and that. And now people know I done failed and blah, 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 blah. I'm divorced. You know, my wife trying to bust me in the head with child support. She's put child support on me that was equivalent of a motherfucker who was like I was a fucking lawyer or some shit.
Oh, man.
So all this crashes down. And when you go in the courtroom, the way they talk to you like you a piece of shit.
Right.
I know how you trainers lie on your taxes. I said, Your Honor, I don't make money to pay out this amount of. I don't want to hear it. I know. I just belittle and oh man, it's look. I go in there, and this was when I joined the church, and this was a new church, and I was like, I got to get my life back together. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I started going to Bible study, and I go one time, and I see I'm hit with this energy. They're full of shit. I'm sitting in there because I go to church thinking I'm a piece of shit. I'm a wretch. I don't even know when the preacher talks. I can't even find the books in the Bible. I got to go to the index. And I'm thinking all these people are so far ahead of me because they pray and they get emotional in church. I'm sitting there, but they all into the spirit. And I see how these people act. I'm like, they're not very kind, you know, they're rude to you about you can't come in this door. I go to the Bible study, they're condescending. So I eventually leave this church.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm going on this, and by this time, I've discovered, like you say, the Pantheon, the Bobbies, the Fields. So at this point, man, I don't know what the fuck is going on in my life. And so I get into the information, like you say, and I too become disillusioned.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I stepped away from a lot of the Bobby stuff, because I had to start to realize, one, he's never had no children. He doesn't know what it's like to have to suffer and be responsible for anybody but himself. So some of those things I had to stop listening to that shit. Right. Because I was on my straight up. I used to be on the radio in 2015 talking about the world's got to end.
Yes.
And that's my goal. My goal is because I'm regurgitating Bobby Hemmett. But you know what I had to come to realize? I had to have my Virgo moment. That shit don't apply to me.
Yep.
And so I've been getting bust down and remade over and over for the last 10, 12 years, man.
Right. Yep.
And some of the people I have met throughout my journey are still thinking I'm at the place where they met me at. And I don't want to hear none of that shit.
Yep.
Because I'm not still there. I'm constantly getting remade. I don't have the luxury. and I know I'm going long, my bad.
Now you good.
I don't have the luxury to still be where I was. Did that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Because I that's why I feel like I told you before synchronicity I felt when me and you link because now we're focusing all of that into the art. That's what it made me think about. We have a similar story. We have the redemption being re uh quote unquote reborn. Then we link up and tap back into our art. I used to rap before, you know what I'm saying? I started doing music in 90. You know what I'm saying? Going to studios, all of that. Up until '05. So um yeah, it's like, bro, like we went through all of that, removed some things from ourselves, and now we're still working on ourselves, but in a new way, different from what people know us for or as or whatever. And we're tapping into our art and bringing a whole new piece of art to the world with a renewed mindset and mind state.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, yo, everything you said is like it line up. You know what I mean? Me and your journey line up, and then fate brought us together. You know what I'm saying? To continue. Now we bounce stuff off each other now. You know what I mean? If I you learn something, you shoot it to me. I learn something, I shoot it to you. And and we've been chopping it up for a couple years now and doing the music. And it's like we're crawling up, we're going up the bell curve. You know what I mean? As friends, as musical partners, and I only got a handful of people I talk to. You one of them. You know what I'm saying? My circle real tight, but it needs
Likewise.
to be that. It needs to be that way because I can't do BS no more.
Mm-mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I can't. Yeah, here and there, depending on who I'm talking to, I could tap in with a little entertainment, a little sports, but I can't have full blown conversations on that.
It's
You know what I'm
painful.
saying? Yeah, it's like my mind's not even on it. You know what I mean? So it's a thing of, yo, evolving to this point and being who I am right now is I'm probably in the best place I've been. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
As an adult. Um because now I have great understanding of things that surround me now that
I,
I didn't have.
can I interject something?
Yes, sir.
It You can't say enough about having the right mate.
Oh man.
Let me tell you something. I want to make this clear to everybody listening. When you look on the internet, a lot of times people will try to convince you that loneliness is something to desire,
Mm-hmm.
or that it's something heroic about it, or it's something to be marveled. Listen to me. To have a relationship is to learn how to die where it's necessary so that you can live.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps to keep you balanced. It helps to force you to learn a level of humility
Mm-hmm.
because you know disagreements that don't result in divorce or some type of abuse,
Mm-hmm.
can be tools for fucking growth,
Yes.
because you start to see you don't know your insecurities until you have a long-term relationship,
Yes. Speak
because
on it, good brother.
everything comes up to the surface.
Yes.
Nobody, and for a man, nobody knows you like your woman. Nobody knows you like your woman. And and if you got a rock, if your woman can be a rock, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You're unfuckwittable.
Yes, indeed.
You're unfuckwittable. And and
Which
um
is a dope song by Keith Murray. I'm sorry.
no doubt. No doubt.
I mean, Little Jamal. I'm sorry.
I thought Keith Murray. What?
No,
Either
I
way,
think that is Keith Murray. I think that is
yeah,
Keith Murray.
dope
Yeah.
MC. Um, because when you get into so-called spiritual conversations, it's not cool to talk about humility, because we've been sold this bill of goods that you always have to take on this identity of I'm in control of it all.
Yes.
Uh-oh. Let me put you on blast here. If all we got to argue about is dishes and memory, and we good. No doubt.
Yeah. Me and my wife have cards on the table talks. And that's what, when we met, I let her know what I was about. You know what I mean? At that moment, she shared herself. Then I said, well, for us to, it's happening to what you said. I said, for us to be together, we have to be forthcoming with ourselves. And me and her started having these cards on the table talk, where we get things out. And if it's something I need to work on, I work on. If it's something for her, bang, she works on. And we keep going. You know what I mean? So, um, you know, that's how we keep our relationship together. And like you said, like, I'm locked in. You know what I mean? So, you know, um, when we have those honest talks, we have them, and then we look at whatever we need to do, and then we work on that. You know what I'm saying? We work on that, and then, you know, and that's it. And that's what keep us rolling. Just being honest with each other, bro, and working on ourselves. And then after that, we eat some banana nut bread and drink some almond milk or something. Like
Real rap. Real rap. It's like it comes back to this, and I know we got to get off of here, but we done put another hour in. It comes back to this individualism again.
Yes.
There's so much energy is put into like what we got to do, the only look, the only real we is you and your household. That's what we got to do, you and your household.
Yeah. You
You
don't
can
know
figure
culture.
that. You don't know culture. If you can figure out that algorithm, you know what I'm saying?
That's it. I've been
It's
pushing individualism for a minute, and it's not selfishness. It's really, yo, when you get the download to get yourself together, and you lock into that, yo, it's gonna make everything beautiful. It's
yes,
all beautiful after that,
yeah,
and that's a real thing. And I use my when it comes to stuff like that, I use myself as an example, because I done been around. So, like, I know what it's like not to have. I know what it's like to have a little bit. You know what I mean? And so like I'm coming from personal experience with that. You know what I mean? And individualism. If I didn't step into that, I wouldn't be on this live right now.
Right.
And that's just keeping it a stat.
You wouldn't
I
have nothing
wouldn't
to
be here
offer.
right now. Yeah, like I wouldn't be here right now. So, um, and then that's what helps my marriage stay healthy. That's what make my relationship with my children and everything that surrounds me. I wouldn't have a cleaning business if I didn't work on self. You know what I mean? Like it just wouldn't be. And that's why I try to tell people, bro, like get once you get yourself together, then you can come together with somebody else and make something when everybody locked in. But everybody's pushing us to collectivism because to be they want you to see them as your messiah.
Mm-hmm. So
Circling back.
Ponzi schemes.
It's a Ponzi scheme. Yes, indeed. And I just see it all the time. And this everything is money. Everything is money. Everything is money. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, you
Always.
know, cats listen, cats and tapped into the prosperity movement of church.
Yes.
And that goes
Yes.
for the conscious community. That goes for the upliftment community. That goes for the
New
every
Agers.
new age. That's like, listen, everybody's about getting a couple bucks.
Mm-hmm.
You
The
know what I mean?
truthers.
The truthers, like, yo, like nobody's just like everybody's doing the game is to be sold, not to be told.
Mhm.
No one's doing each one teach one to get us to a great place. You know what I mean? And on
Well,
that note,
yeah, yeah. The old bear here is about to go hibernate on y'all.
yeah,
I think it was a great show.
likewise. This time goes really fast.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to give a shout out to man all the people. All the late night riders. You
We
know.
love it. We love it. And it helps keep it going because y'all put things in the chat that we can add
Yes.
on and tap
Yes.
into. So we love that. We love that y'all come out at for if you're on the East Coast, 3:34 in the morning, you done been rocking with us for 3 hours and 21 minutes.
Wow.
Um, we love that. We enjoy that. Um, I'm glad we get to tap in with some music with y'all too. It is the Think Music Podcast. So to give y'all a little bit of what we working on behind the scenes, I think is lovely. And yeah, just I greatly appreciate everyone that tunes in and those who may watch the replay. You know, thank you very much.
No doubt. Yes. Much appreciated. You know.
Oh, Clarity Insight is on Bandcamp. Check
It's
that
on
out.
Bandcamp.
Yeah, Clarity Insight is on Bandcamp, and you can stream it on all your streaming services, and add it to your playlist for us if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Let it get. It's 11 minutes. It's deep. It's heavy. It's musical, and yeah, let that rock.
And you're getting a wave file too on Bandcamp. So the Bandcamp is a great listening experience. You
Yeah,
know,
yep.
music sounds really really good on Bandcamp. Put your headphones on and zone
Hmm.
out. And if nothing else, follow us on Bandcamp. Now that doesn't cost a thing. You know,
Yes, please
you
follow
know,
us on Bandcamp, no doubt.
and
You'll be alerted when we drop new music through an email.
right.
So, um, yeah, most definitely, please do that. Yeah, please do that.
So,
That'll help us out greatly.
well, good brother. All my, what how they say, if all minds are clear or whatever.
I've heard
Shit.
that.
Um, We're gonna sign off.
All right. Shout out to UL, Brianna, Brother Williams. I think that
Yeah,
was all that was in
yeah.
the chat.
We had C Truth too. I think C
Oh,
Truth
see,
came
true.
from. I think he came over from the Killer Priest podcast. So
Okay. Peace
that's
to
dope.
see Truth.
And
And just scrolling up. Don't want to miss anyone. I think that's it. Yep.
uh,
Yeah, and on our Bandcamp, we have a nice discography. We have EPs and solo songs and single songs on there. So there's a lot of music on our Bandcamp.
yeah, that's the link. Think Music with a Z
Yeah,
bandcamp.com.
yeah. Click on that link, shoot you right to it. Enjoy.
Yeah, I'm over here scratching like a crackhead. All
Uh-oh.
constantly moving, trying. You be driving, trying to stay awake.
Yeah. I drove from Michigan. I drove from Michigan one time back to Pennsylvania and dozed off and hit that strip in the highway
Oh
that
man.
I listen, the next 2 hours I rode with my window down.
Mm-hmm.
That cold air just beat on my face until I couldn't take it no more, bro. Like I said, oh, I can't fall asleep out here and be nah, you ain't getting me like that.
Right.
Nah.
Yeah. Yeah. Appreciate that, Yoel. Yeah. Please share. All right, y'all. Y'all keep it on the top side. We'll catch y'all on the next one.
Peace.
Peace.